Coming soon to own on
YouTube
video
and Twitch.
DVD.
Let's get straight into it. You feel me? Let's get straight into it. I'm on a different laptop, maybe because I destroyed my other one, but we ain't gonna speak about that. So the mic quality, like I have the same mic, but I'm having problems with the OBS. Like I can't get the mic quality how I want it. So if it sounds bad, my fault again. I can't fix. I tried, but let's get straight into it. Today, today we got the best era of Cartoon Network.
Cartoon Network is home to some of the best cartoons and is arguably the best cartoon channel, with its only
Hands
main
down.
rival being Nickelodeon. Since the 90s,
Hands
Cartoon
down.
Network has been putting out amazing, high-quality shows with super fun characters and funny episodes. Unlike Nickelodeon, there hasn't been a time where Cartoon Network was just awful, so I'd reckon it's fair to say that Cartoon Network
Nah, even like towards the recent days, they cartoons not that bad. Like I feel like Cartoon Network, like even their bad shows have like good lore and like, I feel like it has a good story behind it versus like the bad Nick shows.
has had a really great 3 decades, and so that made me wonder, what one is the best? For the video, I will only be looking at the 90s, 2000s, and 2010s, as
Fair.
the 2020s are not finished yet, and I think it would be unfair to include them. I'll begin by saying the best decade is the 2010s, and I believe
Well, regular show, Amazing World of Gumball, Adventure Time. Trying to think, Ben 10. Yeah, that's the top four I could think off my
this for
head,
quite a
but
few reasons. Well, this is the most obvious reason. Of course, this era has the best shows. Let's compare the decades. For these lists, I tried to mostly talk only about the cartoons made by Cartoon Network, not other acquired shows, just simply because of the sheer magnitude of them. I mention only a very few really good ones. First, the 90s. They began airing cartoons in 93, so this
The
era
W
has a few
Powerpuff
years
Girls.
less than the other two, but that doesn't matter because the shows definitely make up for those 3 years. The best shows of this decade were Dexter's Lab, Johnny Bravo, Powerpuff Girls, Cow and Chicken, Ed, Edd and Eddy,
But Johnny Bravo was like a crazy show. Like
were Dexter's Lab, Johnny
the whole show was this nigga getting denied. Like him trying to raise up some shit and failing.
Bravo, Powerpuff Girls, Cow and Chicken, Ed, Edd and Eddy, and Courage the
W
Cowardly
and
Dog.
Eddie.
All of
W
these shows
Courage.
brought something new and fresh
Double
to the
Courage.
cartoon
My fault.
landscape. My personal favorites were Powerpuff Girls and Courage the Cowardly Dog. The Powerpuff Girls wasn't just the average superhero show, and Courage, a kids' horror show, had that
My favorite, I would say, was probably Powerpuff Girls and Eddie.
ever been done before? While I don't agree with Cow and Chicken being one of the best, it is definitely revered as such. I personally think the show was more for shock value and almost felt more like an Adult Swim show. The mediocre shows from this decade were I Am Weasel, Mike, Lou and Og, and Space Ghost Coast to Coast. I always
Wait, Space Ghost Coast to Coast was I thought that was an Adult Swim show.
shows from this decade were I Am Weasel, Mike, Lou and Og, and Space
I thought this was Adult Swim. I don't know. I don't know why.
Ghost Coast to Coast. I always felt like I Am Weasel was a Cow and Chicken ripoff that wasn't that different. Yes, I know it's made by the same person. Mike, Lou and Og feels very average. I haven't watched much of it, but the episodes I did, they were just alright. Space Ghost Coast to Coast is definitely an acquired taste. I do not think it's very
100%.
funny. It's very dry. Overall, the bad shows, if you could really even call them that, definitely do not outweigh the good. The 2000s boasts even more fantastic shows. However, its amount of bad ones are significantly higher than the 90s. The best shows of this decade are Samurai Jack,
Samurai
Codename
Jack?
Kids Next Door,
Back-to-back bangers.
The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Teen
Bangers.
Titans, Foster's Home for
Bangers.
Imaginary Friends, Camp
Bangers.
Laszlo, My Gym Partner's a Monkey,
Straight
Total Drama
bangers.
Island, Ben 10, and Chowder.
I'm not gonna lie. That run right there, depending on who I'm forgetting in the 2010s, the 2000s might take it. I'm not gonna lie.
As good as the 90s were, I'd say for the most part, these were better. This era is like the 90s Nickelodeon. Samurai Jack was a fantastic cartoon that actually kept an ongoing story, which is pretty uncommon for cartoons, even for today. Codename Kids Next Door was a very enthralling action show. Total Drama Island wasn't for me, but people eat that show up.
What?
Basically animated Survivor. Ben 10 was also one I did not watch, but was a
Nigga,
wonderful concept.
Nigga, what? You never watched Ben 10? Nigga, there's like 5 versions of it. multiple games, multiple TV shows. Like, how the fuck you never watch it?
Concept for a show. Chowder had some pretty good characters and funny fourth wall breaks, but the humor sometimes was too silly. Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, one of the best cartoons ever, is such an amazing idea and executed so well. This is one of my favorite Cartoon Network shows, as for the same with a lot of people, but this one show doesn't carry this era to the #1 spot. This era has quite a few plain mediocre shows, and a handful of bad shows.
Yeah, let
Whatever
me hear the
Happened to
bad one.
Robot Jones is one of the mediocre
The fuck? I'm not gonna lie, perfect title, cause I ain't never heard of this shit.
shows. A robot boy lives the regular human teenage life. It's a pretty typical story. Evil Con Carne isn't awful, but it's nowhere near as good as its grim counterpart. The Misadventures of Flapjack is a pretty good show and has some really good humor,
This was a great show. I love this.
but the art style and its want to scare its predominantly kid audience takes it down a few points. There's
But that's what made it funny though. It's like this shit was a jump scare watching shit as a
videos
kid.
on YouTube dedicated to how scary that show is. Sheep in the Big City is just okay. I really don't
God damn, Nickelodeon's PR team up 1,000 right now, nigga. They swept this shit under the rug. I ain't never hear of this, like half of these bad shows.
get the humor. I think it's pretty bland, but I don't mind the art, and I totally get how someone could like it. The bad shows weren't the worst thing in the world, but it's definitely not the best the network had to
This is considered a bad show. I'm not gonna lie, 2000s might have an argument here,
offer. The
depending
Life
on
and
the bad
Times of
shows.
Juniper Lee was the most
2010s.
generic fantasy teen story. She fights monsters that are from a secret world that only she can see, and the art style was pretty bad. Another notably bad show was Squirrel Boy. It's again generic. A human and a non-human best friend traverse the ordinary human world together and get into some quote-unquote wacky adventures. It's not as bad as Sanjay and Craig, but the fact that they are comparable says enough. The Cramp
You
Twins
only
was
saw
another
it.
show that I didn't like.
The
It was
fuck is
boring,
this?
annoying, and predictable. There were also quite a few superhero shows. I'm not criticizing any of them, but because of so many, they lacked any real variety. There were Teen Titans, Justice League Unlimited, The Batman, Crypto the Superdog, Batman the Brave and the Bold, and a few others. This era also had Chopsaki Chooks, and that seems pretty self-explanatory. Oh wait, I forgot to mention a show, Johnny Test.
Please don't say it. This shit was amazing. This shit was straight bangers after bangers. I'm not gonna lie, the potential this show has is crazy. Nigga, please don't say no bullshit.
You know what? Probably best I don't mention that one. Now the
Oh my
2010s.
God.
They had the best shows. Just about everyone I'm going to talk about are iconic, but this era most certainly had a lot of junk as well. Adventure Time, starting the decade off strong. The jokes were funny.
Very
The
strong.
visual gags were funny. The art style is very pleasing to the eye. The characters and locations were pretty out there, but were all so fun and creative. The show began more episodic, keeping a loose story throughout, but as it neared its end, it became more serialized, which is always a plus. Regular show was very similar to Adventure Time, but so different. If Adventure Time
Very
was soda,
different.
regular show was water, but they were equally entertaining. The humor was very dry and sometimes a little too goofy, but was always funny. The stories were so bizarre, but kept you intrigued. The characters were very enjoyable. I personally did not like Muscle Man, but I feel like I'm
What? How can you hate Muscle Man? I mean, look at him.
in the minority by saying that. Just like Adventure Time, the show was purely episodic, but towards the end became more serialized. It's kind of a crazy jump, from Mordecai and Rigby trying to get out of work every episode, to then by the finale preventing the destruction of the universe. It's honestly a toss-up between which of the shows I like more. The Amazing World of
Me personally, I fuck with regular show more.
Gumball was another fantastic show. The art style was wonderful. They mixed 2D animation, 3D animation, live action, stop motion, and probably something else I can't think of right now. The characters were the best part of the show. They pretty much said no wrong answers and put it all together. A balloon, to a banana, to an upside down chin. This show was crazy. Despite the wacky characters, the plots weren't all that fantastical and sci-fi. They were actually pretty down-to-earth plots. At least
Very
for the
down to
most
earth.
part. And that only added to the hilarity of it all. Steven Universe was another show that is
I feel like a lot of people don't like Steven Universe for like, cause they're like how I guess I don't know. He like I know a lot of niggas view it as not girly but feminine.
held in high regard. I have
But I fuck with it. I fuck with it.
no personal connection to this one. I've only seen a few episodes, and they never really interested me. But boy, does this show have a fan base. Quite a passionate one at that. Mad was another fantastic show.
Boy, what y'all know about Mad? That is ball knowledge. Oh my God. This shit was like It was like the kids' version of Robot Chicken. That's the best way to put it.
like Robot Chicken for kids.
See, I told you. I told you, bro. This
Thinking
shit's
back
ball
to it, I
knowledge.
honestly had no clue what most of the parodies were of, but rewatching some episodes, they are so much funnier than what I remember. Probably because I actually understood the jokes this time, I highly encourage you go back and watch it, if you haven't since you were a kid. Ninjago Masters of Spinjitzu is my
Season, like the first couple of seasons before they started doing all this extra storyline bullshit. This shit was amazing. This shit was fucking amazing.
absolute favorite from this decade. I love Lego, and this only made me love the show more. Even when you drop the Lego aspect, this show is really well written and serialized for a kid's show. I mean, actually looking back on it, this show had absolutely nothing to do with Lego. Every new
Oh, very much nothing to do with Legos.
season, they had a new arc where they faced off against a new band of villains, all contributing to one very large story. I have no clue where that story ended up because it finally concluded a short 2 years ago, and I stopped watching Ninjago a long time before
Long,
that. So
very
honestly, this
long.
could be a pretty hot take if the later seasons are terrible, but seasons 1 through 3 are amazing. Online reviews indicate that
Very.
it did get worse, but how can it not, being
Yeah, that's expected to come with anything, you know. No TV show series can go for longer than 5 seasons and still be, the best. You done seen it all. Well, not seen it all, but past 5 seasons, you're just doing it off, the nostalgic the first 5 seasons brought you. You ain't gonna be able to do it past five.
15 seasons long. Sorry, this was a pretty biased entry. Another super amazing show of the decade is Teen Titans Go. Nah, I'm kidding. We Bare Bears.
This is my shit. A lot of niggas hate on this too, but I fuck with
I
this.
didn't grow up with this one, but I've seen quite a bit of it in the last few years. It surprised me how funny it was. The three bears are very likable characters. Their personalities are things you've seen before, but something just makes you keep watching. The show also had a lot of visual jokes, which aren't talked about enough in general. The last really amazing show I'll mention is one not made by Cartoon Network, Star Wars The Clone Wars. I know it
I remember watching this. I really couldn't get into it. I'm not gonna lie.
wasn't for everybody, and it was of course more geared towards Star Wars fans. Despite the show following an overarching story, the episodes, at least in my opinion, could be watched without prior knowledge and still be very enjoyable without confusion. It was essentially an extension of the prequel movies, but animated. It gave quite a few background characters from the movies much more screen time, and made them more three-dimensional rather than just being a minor character. And the last thing I'll mention, for the amazing category, is they finished Samurai Jack after 2 decades, which was pretty awesome for the fans that loved it. The mediocre shows got the job done. They were unique, somewhat funny, but had some
Yeah, this is the brain rot era.
major flaw like being too boring or too bizarre. Uncle Grandpa is a pretty mediocre show. It's not that funny and fell victim to quite a bit of poop humor. I think this show is overly hated. I don't like it by any means, but it's not as bad as people say. It's a little on the wacky side, and Uncle Grandpa isn't the best lead character. Clarence I could not stand as a kid. Clarence
I can understand. I can see the hate for Clarence, but I don't think the show was like as bad as people make it out to be.
is
For real.
way too dumb and annoying for a lead. Sumo is too wild and pretty unfunny, and Minecraft Steve is the best of the three, but still pretty unlikable. Put these three not so great characters together, and you get a not so great show. The plots were often pretty generic and shallow. It feels like sacrilege to put this here, but Looney Tunes show needs to go in the mediocre category. It's just Looney Tunes with updated animation. It's nothing special, but it's Looney Tunes. It's of course funny with good characters. It has to fall here though because it's not as good as the good shows, but not nearly as bad as the bad shows. Speaking
That's
of
fair.
which, the
That's
bad
fair.
shows. Well, there are 3
I wouldn't. I wouldn't say Teen Titans Go is bad. It's just they they went from Teen Titans to Teen Titans Go, which is like a rough jump. But I think that was them trying to appeal to the younger audience because they knew they was going with Teen Titans, the original Teen Titans. Eventually, it would just fall off because like they took this show for like 10, almost was 2015, almost 10 years plus now. And I never heard these two.
obvious ones that are constantly talked about. Teen Titans Go. I'll just get this one out of the way. I don't remember it being bad at first, but it got really dumb. It's Breadwinners dumb. The comedy is, well, not really comedy. A huge complaint is that it's nothing like the original Teen Titans, but I guess no one realized that it's clearly not trying to be a true to the comic TV show. It's obviously geared more towards kids, not teens.
See, Like exactly what I just said.
I understand the complaints. I picked a recent episode to watch just to see how it is currently, and wow. Yeah, it's time for this thing to get canceled. The other two shows that are atrocious are The Problem Solvers and Secret Mountain Fort Awesome. First, I'll start with Problem Solvers. This show literally scared me as a
Oh,
child.
nah, that animation, that shit looks so weird.
Purely
Oh, hell
because of the
nah.
art style. It looks like it was drawn in MS Paint. I don't know why, but that animation genuinely gave me the heebie-jeebies when I was young. The
That
same thing
shit's
happened when I
terrible.
saw Aqua Teen Hunger Force or
What? Nigga, I fuck with these two shows.
Squidbillies. I never watched those, but they always rub me the wrong way. The characters are bland and uninteresting. They have no personality. Like, this show is so bad. I better not see a single person defending this show in the comments. I would take
Hey,
Fanboy and Chum
you got it, bro. You got it. I ain't defending that.
Chum or Breadwinners or literally a single moving line on the screen. This show is slightly better than Problem Solvers, but in the same sense that drinking pee is better than dehydrating. This is a gross out show. The whole point is to be gross. The jokes revolve around being gross. I mean, there is a butt guy. I think that says enough. The animation is once again awful to look at. The characters are unfunny. It's just all around terrible. Like the last decade, this era also had an overabundance of superhero shows.
This was Cartoon Network? Oh
Young
shit.
Justice, Green Lantern, Beware the Batman, Teen Titans Go, and Justice League Action were most of them. They also had quite a few reboot shows. They had Wabbit, they
I'm not gonna lie, this a bad reboot of Scooby-Doo. This shit look like a parody.
had a new Tom and Jerry show, 2 new Scooby-Doo shows, and Ben 10 was rebooted 3
The best Scooby-Doo, in my opinion, was the Mystery Incorporated. That's my favorite series of Scooby-Doo. That shit was the lore behind that, and it's I think that's the best version of Scooby-Doo we probably gonna have for a little while.
times in this era. Not saying reboots are bad, but, I mean, historically they are. The latter half of this decade arguably gets pretty bad, but the shows also lessen in quantity. Mighty Magiswords, Bunnicula,
I fuck with Mighty Magiswords. Never heard of this though.
Apple and Onion, Summer
Apple and Onion sucked. I never heard of this.
Camp Island, Unikitty,
I seen like one episode. I hated it.
Victor and Valentino,
I heard this had a lot of lore behind it, and it had like a lot of representation for the Hispanic community.
Mau Mau, Heroes of
Never watched
Pure
this.
Heart, and Infinity Train are all pretty
Never watched it.
forgettable. They seemed like they were all trying to replicate prior successes like Adventure Time, Gumball, or Steven Universe. They all feel the same, but recolored. The ones that seemed to be better than the others were OKKO, Let's Be Heroes, and Craig of the Creek. They were
Crater Creek, I fuck with it. I can see the vision behind it. I feel like it's not as bad of a show people are gonna try to make it out to be. Because I feel like a lot of people are gonna try to compare it, constantly compare it to what cartoons used to be. But it's obvious they're trying to go in a different path. And okay, Mighty Hero, I feel like that's a great show too. I watched it. The lore behind it was crazy. It's predictable, but if you was like a child watching it, it's crazy.
refreshing and felt new, especially OKKO. Now the big question, do the good shows outweigh the bad? Absolutely. There are definitely more good shows than mediocre or bad shows. Even as the decade went on,
God damn. This shit, Annoying Orange. Whew. This shit was peak brain rot.
the really good shows hadn't ended yet. So even if you didn't want to watch one of the newer shows, Adventure Time, regular show, Gumball, or Steven Universe, we're still airing new episodes. Even for the few
Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie, bro. Annoying Orange, it felt like a bunch of young 23-year-old niggas, probably high as fuck, high out their mind, just in the studio doing shit.
shows this decade that were exceptionally horrendous, like Problem Creators or Secret Mountain Fort Stupid, are easily overshadowed by the exceptionally amazing shows like Adventure Time and Regular Show.
Nah, the PR team is crazy. They swept that shit under the rug.
Cartoon Network had its fair share of competition, Nickelodeon and Disney Channel for the most part. But what does the competition have to do with this era being so good? Well, perhaps we give this era too much credit for being so good because everything else is just so bad. Nickelodeon in the 2010s had been diagnosed with incurable brain rot, with shows like Breadwinners, Sanjay and Craig, and Bunsen is a Beast. I have an entire video on the worst era of Nickelodeon, so you should go check that out after you finish this one. And the other network,
Rage,
Disney
babe.
Channel, was, also not the best.
What? Don't tell me niggas not fucking with Dog with a Blog. See, I know this guy. I know his style of cartoons. He wants that more serious toned cartoon. Like I figured it
I'll
out.
say. Did Cartoon Network get an inflated reputation? Was there really nothing better on, so did we just switch it to Cartoon Network? No, absolutely not. You can compare pretty much any show from this
I'm not gonna lie. Unironically, I might take Oh No, an Orange.
era with any show from the 2010s Nickelodeon, and Cartoon Network will always be better. Well, maybe don't compare Problem Solvers,
I'm taking Sanjay and Craig.
but besides that one. It may sound shocking that this is even a reason, but the other two cartoon channels went for a more live-action approach this decade. Both
No, there was what was it called? Boomerang? Yeah, Boomerang had a cartoon channel.
Nickelodeon and Disney Channel had a roughly 50-50 split of cartoons and live action. Now look at Cartoon Network. Almost zero live action shows.
They had like couple. They had these two. They had Level Up.
They gave live action a try at the end of the previous decade that continued into the start of the 2010s, with shows like Dude What Would Happen and Destroy Build Destroy. They did not perform well, as if that was a shock, putting live action shows on a channel called Cartoon Network. Obviously, the higher ups at Cartoon Network said no more, and there were no more live action shows. I have a feeling that some people are going to disagree with me. I'm probably going to get a lot of comments saying the 90s were goated, or something to that effect. Yes, all the decades were good, but this one was especially great. It had back-to-back-to-back-to-back iconic, amazing cartoons with such little junk in between. Yes, the argument can be made that the shows that were bad were really bad, but my rebuttal is that the
This shit look like an acid trip. I'm not gonna lie. I be like, I don't want to finish it, but I be like scrolling through Adult Swim sometimes, and some of the cartoons, it be niggas too hard, trying too hard to copy Smile and Friends. Like the randomness, it just look like you're just throwing shit out there to appear random.
shows that were good were really good and completely outweigh it. I don't know. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, even if it's the wrong one. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. In multiple of my previous videos, I have been asking you guys to hit the subscribe button to reach 1,000.
No fucking way, niggas got fired, bro.
You don't own my soul. Get your hands off of me. Wanna rest my bones when I am